Thank you for joining today's webinar, 7 Use Cases That Prove Why You Should Implement DAM, presented by Cloudinary and MarTech Today. I'm your host, Cynthia Ramsaran. Before we begin, here are some helpful viewing tips. You can customize any of the windows for your viewing experience. And if you have any viewing issues, you can use the Q&A box at any time to communicate with us. You can also type in questions for the speakers about their presentation at any time. Without further ado, let's get to the presentation. Russ Barr is Digital Asset Management Director at Cloudinary, and Fred Sanui is founder and CEO of Activo Consulting. Welcome to you both. I'll hand things over to you, Fred.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and thank you to Cloudinary to get the chance and to share with you best practice and experiences regarding DAM. And one of the biggest questions today, and that's the item of our webinar, is how finally you can start a selection of your DAM system. So I'm Fred, CEO of Activo. We are a consultancy company in France and Europe, but more or less working worldwide. And our DNA is ready to provide the best experience ever consultancy alongside the selection of the DAM, PIM, and CMS system, coming from analysis, business requirements, change, alongside their onboarding and change phase for the customers. And the first thing we need to ask and to tackle is, what are today the DAM challenges? As we know, the DAM is two main things. One thing is it's an engine for your assets. And today, when you are looking at the range of the assets, it's everything rich. You have large video files, you have large graphic files, you have 3D files. The second point is the DAM is an engine for your metadata. And of course, that's one of the biggest challenge. You are using a DAM system in order to retrieve your assets. The first thing is, instead of using some other silos system inside your organization, and that's really the purpose of a DAM enterprise, you need to share and distribute the content and not using some third-party system outside of DAM. The DAM is your unique source. This is your repository of all the content of the enterprise. Of course, regarding the rich content, regarding the place inside the ecosystem, a DAM system has to be performance, which means that in order to provide answers to all the users of the company, with a lot of uploads, a lot of requests from PIM, Salesforce, SRM system, etc. But at the top, because when you are starting with DAM system, one of the things which is at the top of the priority of every customer, you need to provide a stunning experience. It has to be super easy to use. You don't have to be an engineer to use the DAM system. And of course, for the ROI of the system, it's very important to get some KPIs in order to measure the performance of your system, not only the activity report, but also everything regarding the usage of your assets. And this is more or less what I try to represent as one of the main core of the asset inside the enterprise. This is what we're calling the asset lifecycle. So you have so many things to manage as input channels, from pictures, videos, artworks, catalog, 3D, animations. So it's every type of files. And that's the big challenge today. On the opposite side, of course, you need to distribute this content on all the touch points, which is not only websites, social, but it's also all about some print, some mobile, and that's a challenge in order to streamline all this content and in order to maintain the brand consistency. And in between, you have your DAM system. As we said, the DAM is an engine for your assets and your metadata, but of course, and especially regarding the last decade and last years, we saw more and more the usage of a DAM for a lot of other use cases, and especially for marketing purposes, which means that you you have to be able to manage some approval of your assets. You have to manage revisions. You have to connect to your ecosystem. So which is one step ahead, the basic and the foundation of a dam system. So finally, how we can select a dam? Of course, one of the 6 steps that we are advising is really start from the analysis. And in order to measure the gap between what you're expecting for and what you have today inside the company, you need to provide a resource audits of all your system. You need to provide to gather all the requirements from all business units. Whatever you are working on the marketing side, on the sales side, it's very important to gather all these requirements before starting your dam project. Governance is, as you know, one of the key success of your project. As I'm saying every time, 95% of your success is all about the people, 5% of the technology. And without governance, whether with your team and also with your metadata, it will not be a success. But at the end of the day, after these 4 main steps, you need to find a way in order for the vendors to propose them something like a clear representation of finally how you are working. And the best way to do that and the right path to take, I think, is really to use some scenarios. And this is more or less something we're advising to the people to do. A dam demonstration is not simply just as playing with some assets as so many vendors are doing today. So it's very important to be close to be able to manage, to represent the way you will work later inside your organization. And then you can start your selection. And in order to, before starting talking about these 7 use cases that we are thinking are very important in order to embrace all the capabilities of a dam system, I just try to put one example, something we are working with some dam enterprise and in retail, where you can see finally you have so many stakeholders everywhere, you have so many content everywhere, and this is something we are calling for every brand. Brand is everywhere, and the data also. So we have most of the time 2 types of system. We have a dam system, which is really foundation for the whole organization. You have a PIM system in order to gather all the data for the organization, and also to be able to streamline, to share, to distribute this content alongside the e-commerce channels, etc., and websites. And it's very important to get these 2 types of system. And we do believe that you cannot get one system to do everything. It's not the reality, okay? So a dam system is based on the assets, a PIM system is based on the product. The other use cases we are working very often is all about the creative operations, because today, when you are a designer, an agency, you have so many content to work to get the approval from your customers. When you are just starting a project, as for example, for your brand regarding some Photoshop files, some InDesign documents, you can get some very large content. And you have to find a way to get approval of this content, to share this content. And one of the best use cases we have today, where we can see some great automation with the dam system, is to get some connector between your Adobe suites and the dam system, alongside the approval, the check-in, check-out, the retouch of your images, and then you can start sharing all this content to your clients and stakeholders. So, but as we know, and as I said, it's not all about the technology. It's also all about you. It's all about your team. And even if I will say experience-wise that, especially in US and UK, most customers, they know that they need a team. This is the governance with a team, dam manager, librarians, but it's not something we can see everywhere. And the role of a dam manager is really one of the most important ever, in order to drive the projects between your people, between your team, and especially librarians, project manager, and also to get some interaction with the vendor. It's very important to get close because it's just like as a partnership. As soon as you're starting working with your vendor, you should be aware, just as for example, aware about the roadmap, about to get some customer feedback in order to improve the customer experience. So it's very important to get this done manager. And something we are talking more and more with our customers, which is something we are calling the design thinking approach, which means defining business cases, gathering the requirements, talking about all the governance, the metadata strategy, the user-oriented profile. So you can see all these items. It's not all about the technology. You can get the best system ever. If you are not able to follow and to get the right team, you will not be successful. So, of course, the DAM is definitely at the heart of the digital transformation. And especially since the last year, due to the pandemic, we see a massive progress of e-commerce. It's more than 70% in the US. It's more than 40% in Europe. And despite this terrible time we are living, it's also, as JFK was saying, it's also a time for new opportunities. And this is really the time to start with your DAM system if you never did before. And especially for this place of the DAM at the heart of this digital transformation, we just try to finally highlight 7 use cases where DAM is very critical. One thing is all about the content velocity. It's very important for the DAM system in order to provide the best content in the right time. It has to be also very flexible because we see more and more also some, especially regarding the cloud services, it's just like as a tool set that you have to be able to manage yourself. So it means you should be able to manage your own metadata, to manage your own workflows. So the flexibility of a system and the setup is very important. Video asset management is one item really at the top because as we are saying every time, when we are just taking your smartphone, you can do 4K just as it's just easy to provide some great and rich content. And 1 hour of 4K, 1 minute of 4K is 13 gigs, so which is it's not a small file, it's not a JPEG file. So video asset management is something really at the top where you need to get a strong DAM system capable to manage and to transcode your files with all the renditions. The other use cases that we're wanting to highlight is when you want to do some direct publishing to your different channels. As we said, the DAM is the unique source of your content. This is a repository of all your assets. And today, the only thing you need to keep inside the DAM is the high definition. It can be your Photoshop file, your TIFF file, your 4K video, but of course your customer needs to get some renditions. And we have customers, especially in retails, they need 56 renditions. So that's the job of DAM, to provide all this content alongside all your different touchpoints. The delivery of an optimal end-user experience, as we said, is also very important to engage your people to start with. You don't have to get some very complex things to set up, etc. And the reason why today we see a massive adoption from all the latest smartphones is just because it's easy to use. And the DAM system has to be exactly the same. Of course, sometimes you need some trainings on the admin side, but the usage of the DAM is just drag and drop, click, minimum of clicks. You should be able also to play with your mobile wherever the business starts most of the time. So the user experience is so important today. Work in progress is also important today. If you remember the life cycle of the asset, I just try to figure out more and more you need to get approval of your content with your customers. So which means what you can do. Of course, you can start with share link. You can set this share link to your customer, but maybe sometimes you need to get some back and forth to provide some revisions at the top. So when we are looking at how people are working today, most of the time they are starting a marketing campaign with a brief. They need to approve some graphic files, some text. They need to get the approval of a legal, etc. So this is what we are calling the work in progress. So workflows capabilities, which brings much more capabilities of your DAM system. And of course, at the end, because this is just the DNA of any DAM system, is all about the sharing and distribution of assets. So today, the success of a DAM system, it has to be at the heart, finally, of your ecosystem. So you should be able easily to push some content on the web portal, on the social, on your mobile app, on PIM system. And I would say, experience-wise today, 80% of our DAM projects are also PIM projects, so which finally are more or less at the end of the same story. So how I can manage finally the data analysis of my PIM, the metadata inside my DAM. So it requires some experience, but this capability from a DAM system to share provide much more capabilities to other systems, wherever it's a PIM system or your Salesforce, etc., for the efficiency of your system. And now, I think this is the time, Russ, maybe to start with, and maybe you can bring your experience regarding this media experience and your vision and strategy for Cloudinary regarding these use cases.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. So I'll kind of continue to kind of discuss it with a little bit more emphasis on the way Cloudinary can help you solve these 7 use cases, and how we're looking at DAM in a slightly different way and trying to kind of evolve the DAM paradigm. So I'm Russ Barr. I'm the managing director of the DAM business line at Cloudinary, and I've worked in the DAM industry for over 15 years. I've worked on hundreds of projects over that time and seen the evolution of the industry and of the software and of customer needs as well. And I've worked for 5 different DAM vendors, so I've got a real kind of insight into how different organizations and different customers have tried to tackle the problems that everyone faces. And if we just go back to these kind of 7 use cases that Fred was describing, I think if you look at it from the way Cloudinary has approached it, we cover all of these use cases, but maybe in slightly different, non-traditional ways. So what we're trying to bring is more effectiveness and basically through automation, by trying to speed up and bring greater efficiency to a lot of the things that we need to do within DAM. The extensibility, so we talked about flexibility of the setup, and it's not just about the setup flexibility, but the flexibility to actually take what is out of the box in your DAM system and extend it to be able to add functionality, to add capabilities, and to bring in the best of breed capabilities from different parts of your tech stack and make it all accessible from the DAM or from the right system at the right time for the user, to make that user experience as seamless as possible. The video piece is super important, and Fred was right to kind of pick that up. And we've looked at video from a number of angles, so not just about what could be done with video, so the reusability of video, the adaptability of video, using AI to make sure that we can get the best possible version of video for every device, every format, every output, but also looking at scale. As Fred mentioned, the scale and size of videos is on the increase all of the time, and Cloudinary comes from this kind of background and this history in dealing with huge amounts of media, and that kind of supports the ability for us to provide that scalability and future-proofing around video. And also around optimization and delivery. So the scalability that we can bring obviously gives great benefits, and it also allows us to future-proof the system and allow us to kind of know that in the years down the line, we're going to be able to handle that inevitable explosion in even greater file sizes and more content that's going to be produced and shared across ever more channels and adaptations, personalizations, localizations. So it's really important to be able to extend the DAM to be able to cope with all of those future requirements, not just the ones we see today. So looking at the rich media and the experience that customers have with rich media, and why is it important to actually manage that rich media in a DAM and in a system that is able to provide more than just plain storage. And customer experience is super important, and it's actually really important for conversion of potential customers into actual customers on all of the different devices that they're going to be using. Customers expect the quality, the highest possible quality and performance of content on any device in any set of circumstances. And Cloudinary can automatically adapt content to deliver it in the most efficient, most effective, most optimized way for your end user, which would then increase their engagement, increase their experience, improve their chances of converting. And that is something that can be done in an automated way. I'll keep mentioning the automation that Cloudinary can bring. A lot of these things that we're trying to achieve are almost impossible to do manually because of the sheer volumes involved, the number of channels, the number of files, the number of formats, the number of browsers. And you multiply all these things together and throw in things like localization and personalization. It's not something that you can begin to do in a manual process. So by bringing automation, by bringing efficiencies of scale, we can really improve that end user experience. Agility is really important as well. I mean, it's not just about kind of being flexible, like we already mentioned, but it's about being quick, being able to be responsive, getting content to market as fast as possible, being able to get return on investment on that content as quickly as possible, all in a way that is performant and of high quality, as I've already discussed. It's also about efficiency of the processing. Teams are really trying to do a lot more with often less resources, especially at the moment, and it's really important that the DAM system can really provide that extra pair of hands, or even more than one pair of hands, many pairs of hands, to actually accelerate and expand the capabilities of the creative and marketing teams. And also, that also leads on to agility around collaboration as well. And again, especially in these kind of COVID times where we have teams that are even more distributed, even more remote, it's really important to be able to provide that smart collaboration and the ability for everyone to be involved in that process to ensure that the end result is compliant, it's correct in all of the various formats and adaptations, and to ensure that we have consistency across everything we do. And innovation is really important as well. It's not okay to just be happy with the system as it is today. You know, businesses evolve, technology evolves, the needs of customers evolve, and during that process, it's important that the systems that are used to kind of manage and maintain these systems evolve as well. And you need to make sure that you have an eye on the future, even when you're looking at something for today. From a Cloudinary point of view, it really is built on cutting-edge technology. It comes from an API developer-first kind of heritage, if you like, and that allows Cloudinary's DAM to be very, very extensible, integratable. We support the integration with a huge number of systems already, but provide that capability for developers and technical folks to actually take what we've already got and extend it almost, without limits. I mean, there's only the limits of imagination that really stop you from being able to do what it is you need to do. And those joined up systems allow for an even greater, richer experience to be delivered to customers. The more systems you have providing that insight into your customers, information that they want to see at the time they want to see it, in the way that works for them, is all going to help with that end user appreciation of the assets that you have, and will improve the return on the investments of the assets that you're investing in. Also, one of the things that with Cloudinary, we're also very heavily involved in defining that next generation of standards, file formats, and these are the formats that we're working on today that everyone will be using tomorrow. And it's really important that the DAM system that you choose, or that you have implemented in your organization, also is able to extend into the future. File formats are ever evolving. We have kind of more 360 AR, VR type file formats that are becoming more heavily used, and who knows what we're going to be using tomorrow. So it's really important that you have an eye on the future, and that the vendor that you select is similarly looking over the horizon and not just focusing on today. So here we have just a few examples of how some of the Cloudinary customers have benefited from those benefits that I just spoke about. So Hinge, one of our customers, had a huge decrease in churn of their end customers based on the fact that we can improve the video quality in their system. Quality of the media was absolutely vital for them and their customers, and they managed to achieve that through the capabilities that we have within the system. On the other side of things, Bleacher Report was kind of more about how quickly they could get their content to market in their kind of high-speed, high-paced world. They were managed to increase the content publishing speed by 350%, increase the views by 350% by getting content out there very, very quickly. And so that agility, that speed to market was critical for them, and we were able to provide that support to allow them to achieve that. And StubHub, finally, just through that innovative automation that I've already spoken about, they managed to reduce the manual effort needed on a huge amount of volume of manual editing and getting the system to do it for them, really making the DAM an important player in their team, and to allow it to free them up to be able to do other things. So bringing that scalability and that automation really helped them to achieve what they were trying to achieve. But there's many other companies that have benefited from the Cloudinary platform, and we have over 7,500 paying customers across a hugely diverse range of industries, all sorts of verticals and sectors you'll see on this slide. But it's obviously the 7,500 goes way beyond this list, and it's interesting to see that it's not only a diverse range of verticals and sectors, but also size of organization, all the way from tiny businesses and startups up to huge global enterprises. Everyone experiences to some degree the problems that we've described in this presentation, and that many of the people on this call will probably recognize firsthand, around just that explosion of content and being able to really bring control, bring governance, and be able to still make sure that you get the return on investment on the assets that you are creating, and that you're really spending time to make sure they are crafted to the best possible way. From Cloudinary's point of view, we focus particularly on kind of the retail sector, media, travel, but they're just kind of areas where we've had an awful lot of kind of experience, and it's not by no means our only area of focus. But every company has these problems, and it's just a matter of whether or not they have the time often to actually pick themselves up from the chaos and the busy lives that they have, and to step back from the problem and to spend the time to actually come up with a solution. So this kind of talks a bit about what I mentioned earlier, a few slides back, around just making sure that your decision or your tech stack, is extensible enough and open enough to be able to allow you to build this engine. And an engine needs to be built of the parts that are fit to do the job they're meant to do. Often it's almost impossible to have one system that can do every job. There's so many diverse needs and requirements that your teams will have, and you need to have the right system providing the right capabilities, functionality, data, whatever it might be, at the right time, and make that available to other systems as they need it. I mentioned earlier about Cloudinary's kind of open architecture. It's an API-first system, so built for developers to basically build systems on top of. And we now have this layer, this DAM layer, that sits above that capability, which gives us huge amounts of scope for integrations. And the type of integrations are constantly evolving. Every time I speak to a customer or a potential customer, it seems that there's a new type of system or a new use case that is being considered that hadn't maybe even existed a year or so ago. The traditional ones, I think Fred mentioned them already, kind of around PIM and CMS systems. They're well covered. There's a lot of integrations out there, or off-the-shelf integrations you can use, but it's kind of a well-worn path. The process is well understood, and the integrations are very, very kind of popular and stable. But there are lots of newer, less traditional integrations that we're coming up and we're seeing now. Some of them are mentioned on this slide around some of the e-commerce platforms. So a lot of our retail and e-commerce customers are really finding that link between the PIM, the DAM, and the e-commerce platform is becoming more and more vital to really bring efficiency and streamline that whole process of taking their product and taking it to market online. Also, the various areas of the MarTech stack around potentially CRM systems, pushing content out to marketing automation platforms, and also around CDNs. So going back to the optimization and the customer experience, really making sure that customers and the end users of the content are having the most performant experience as possible by making sure that the content sits as close to the end consumer as possible. And all of these integrations rely on the premise of making sure that the content, the data, the functionality sits in the right system, not trying to kind of have a one system where everything will reside and not quite managing to provide the functionality across all of those different use cases, but allowing each system to be an expert in its own area, pulling them all together into a single unified, coherent mechanism that can then be used to kind of bring a huge amount of efficiency savings to your organization. So future-proofing, I've mentioned that a couple of times already. I mean, it's obviously completely impossible, but we can try and do as best we can. There are systems that are already kind of coming towards the end of their life, and I think it's very obvious when you see one of those systems that they've either not been invested in or they've not been able to invest in the right areas to keep ahead of trends that are coming up in not just in DAM, but in other areas of functionality as well. And the investment and the time you put into your decision around a DAM system, or any system really, is one that you need to make sure is fully returned and you're going to get the most out of that decision. It's not just for this year or tomorrow, it's for the long term. And especially if you're going to go through the whole process and discipline of integrating all of your systems and building this hugely powerful engine. If you do that, it's much more difficult to then replace one part of that engine if everything's very tightly stitched together. So that upfront decision becomes even more critical. And it's important to look at the vendors and the systems that are out there in terms of how well they're able to meet future needs and future demands. And looking at the trends that we see in DAM kind of gives us a bit of a flavor as to what we're likely to need in the future and what we're likely to see from our DAMs and our media management systems. So the trends that are listed here are kind of trends that have either been evolving over a short period of time, or some of them have been going on a bit longer, but all of them are ones that DAM systems need to be able to embrace and need to be able to have a very good, solid solution for. So from an artificial intelligence point of view, a lot of DAMs integrated and used things like Amazon or Google to actually do AI recognition and auto tagging, and that was kind of phase one of AI in DAMs. But that has been pushed on, and there's far more capabilities that AI can bring now around things like smart cropping, making sure the right pieces of content are available in cropped versions of an asset, around AI moderation. So if you have a huge amount of UGC content being generated, it's a huge overhead for a manual person to actually look for every piece of that content. We can get AI to take some of that load and automate that. And these are all things that Cloudinary is able to do. And these are trends that we saw, and we've made sure we kept ahead of those. Insights on the content you have and how it's being used, how effective it is. It's kind of the holy grail, trying to understand exactly what you can get out of your content, what content is effective, what content is worth investing more in and reusing. And that's an area I think that all DAMs are trying to kind of really build on and provide that kind of insight for customers. Headless is an area where we're seeing headless CMSs over the last couple of years, and DAM is kind of catching on with that as well. And Cloudinary's API-first approach allows us to be that headless DAM. So if you want to take DAM capabilities and build them into another system, or make them available via an interface that has been developed specifically for a particular use case, then you have all of those capabilities in a headless DAM like Cloudinary. You don't need to build those capabilities, but you have the full flexibility to take them and implement them however you want and have full access to that data and that content that sits behind the APIs. Video has been an emerging trend for as long as I've been doing these presentations. It feels it's always kind of it's growing and growing and growing, and not just the amount of video being produced, but the size of the video, the quality of the video, and we're consuming it in so many different ways, and systems really need to be able to keep up with that. It's no good filming everything in a certain portrait mode if people are going to be viewing it in landscape, and vice versa. People are going to be viewing very short clips. You want to be able to reuse video across different geographies, across different brands, across different campaigns. So adaptation of video, reuse of video, automation of that is a key trend, and something that we are really putting a lot of effort into in Cloudinary, and making sure that that is something that we can offer our customers, because we know it's something that they really need. And all of this goes into that automation piece. I've spoken about it many times already. Any of these things that I've already mentioned, if we can get the system to take some of the heavy lifting and take some of the burden, then it frees up the teams to be able to do more of the things they need to do. So plan campaigns, to generate creative content, and to actually execute rather than spending all of their time on these processes. So this is kind of just an overview of how the DAM sits within the Cloudinary Media Experience platform. So it's not just, we don't just have a DAM at Cloudinary. There's this whole platform that gives us the capability to really be part of the entire life cycle of an asset, all the way from kind of that sourcing, the managing, the curation, sharing, all the way through to optimized delivery, measuring the performance. And that spans across a few different products that we have. We have the DAM system, of course, which allows us to really manage and store and curate the content. But our Media Optimizer system allows that content to then be, or those assets to then be delivered to end users a hugely optimized way, super fast, perfect operation, perfect delivery at the right time, at the right scale, at the right format for each of the users. And underpinning all of it is this kind of programmable media layer, which is this huge array of APIs, SDKs, and frameworks that allow any of the functionality to be used in other systems, to be integrated, to be extended. And we also have AI across many of these areas as well. And we want to improve on that and bring more AI capabilities and automation across as much of the system as we can. So that's it for the presentation. So any of this content you can find on our website on cloudinary.com. And I think now it's time to hand back over to Cynthia.
Thanks, Russ. We do have a few questions, so I'll get started. The first question is from Anne, and she asks, what's been your experience integrating a DAM with Agile?
Is that for me or Fred? Should I take that one?
Yeah, I think maybe you are talking on your slide about Agile, so maybe you can bring us some, and especially regarding integration as a vendor.
Yeah, I mean, from an Agile, in an Agile kind of program, kind of methodology sort of thing, is that kind of the question? I guess it's hard to know, but from an agility point of view, and to be able to integrate, we try and have the system as open as possible. So we have as many routes into the system, as many hooks, as many mechanisms for either our own solutions team, our customers, partners, to be able to integrate into whichever system is relevant for them, and to meet the use case that they're trying to meet. We're trying to do more with the UI to allow extensibility from within the UI itself. So we have these the idea of custom actions, so you can instigate and fire off activities from within the UI to integrate into external systems, to fire off processes, to fire off different pieces of functionality that may sit external to the system. So the amount of flexibility and the amount of interoperability that we can offer is vast, and it's really just down to customer requirements and what the need is that really limits what we can do.
Yeah, I think I can say exactly the same. So regarding the implementation, when you are starting a DAM system, you have some different use cases, and it's really some back and forth between the customer and the vendor. And but definitely that's because we are not selling only a technology. It's all about the processes. And you can get the best technology ever. You cannot do maybe the jobs, or it's all about the intelligence you can bring all together alongside here. And also we're always trying to do some dedicated workshops about metadata, renditions, etc. It's all about the personalization of your content, etc. in order to get the best breed with your system.
Yeah, another thing I would also mention about integrations is what's a real kind of good way of thinking about it is don't come to the vendor with the solution, come with the problem and allow the vendor or the partner or whoever you're working with to work together to try and find the best solution, because there's often many ways to solve a problem. And if you come with a solution, then it sometimes hides what it is you're actually trying to achieve. If you just trying to articulate the problem, this is what we're trying to achieve, this is our end goal, and you can then work with the vendor to try and find the best solution based on the capabilities they have and the capabilities that you might have within your tech stack.
Yeah, and one thing maybe I can add is when you are starting your RFP, an RFP is not a wish list for Christmas. Okay, so it will not solve everything inside the organization. So you have really to spend the time, as we saw, and one of your slides was really the clear representation finally of where is the dam in today. So you are connected to a PIM system. You have so many systems everywhere. So your system can do one thing very good, and then just look at during the RFP finally about all the marketplace of your system. And I think the slide you were showing with us, Russ, was a very good clear representation of that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We have another question. When thinking of APIs, how should we evaluate the robustness of APIs offered by different DAM providers?
That's a good question. So maybe something I can answer because, of course, as you know, I'm on the customer side with different large customers. And especially in the RFP, we are used to say, okay, I will get some API REST. But most of the time, we are not really going deep dive in order to provide much more information. And one of the things I really advise to our audience is, as for example, when you have a PIM system, it's something very hard today to find some DAM system able to push the information to your PIM system. And most of the time, PIM system, they have to request one time during the night, as for example, to check the new images. And it's not something which is common to share in the RFP, but really spend the time in some very technical session with a product owner or a CTO on the vendor side to ask, okay, what's your ecosystem, what you need to do with the API, okay? And especially as soon as you have a lot of some custom integration to do, maybe you would like to share some objects or collections. We see more and more something we are calling content picker. So as for example, from your CMS system, you can browse your DAM, just like as a mini DAM. But have you ever thought finally about your use cases, your demo scenarios? I'm in my CMS, I want to search for my collections, my assets. Finally, can I manage also the rights and permissions? So it's all about the API thing, which is not very clear at the beginning. So really spend the time to look at the API.
Yeah, I think I would just add to that as well. I mean, the API and it is kind of important, it's key, obviously, and it depends what you're trying to achieve as to what specifically you need to be looking at within the API capabilities. But there's other ways of solving problems, which is why I was saying about come with the problem rather than the solution. And with Cloudinary, we offer widgets, for example. So the widgets are kind of pre-built, kind of like Fred was mentioning there. It's kind of a pre-built interfaces that you can actually reuse. They're designed to be used externally to the system. And they offer things like the upload capabilities, asset editing, searching and selecting of assets. So there's a lot of work that's already been done. And it could be that you can save an awful lot of effort in development if you use a pre-created widget rather than starting from scratch and having to build complex UIs. Also, the flexibility around which languages are supported, what SDKs are already available. You may have preferences around that, and if the vendor is limited in their choices or limited in their capabilities, then that may be something that needs to be looked at as well.
Yeah.
All right, great. We have another question coming in from the audience. What do you consider more important, having a robust search engine or having a logical folder structure?
I know what I would say, Fred. I'll let you go first, Fred, because obviously,
Sure. That's a good question, because sometimes, and especially when you start with DAM system, you know what's happened today. Whatever you are working on your Mac, on your PC, it just folders everywhere. Okay, and of course, most of the time, especially when you start trying to onboard with DAM system, most of the people would like to get some tree navigation of folder, or just like a Dropbox or box things, etc. Today, the trend regarding the new DAM system is it's all driven by the metadata, which means that you need to control everything from your taxonomies, your vocabulary, your naming convention, in order to retrieve your assets. And AI will not solve all your problems without metadata. It's so very important to know that. So really, with metadata-driven DAM system, you should really take the time regarding your metadata strategy. But in the meantime, I do agree that DAM vendors should also pay attention to how finally I will use this technology to make my life easier, just like as collections management. I see a couple of DAM systems. You can do maybe as many as you want collections, 600, but suddenly because you have too many collections, nothing more is working. Or you can search for collections, or you can even share your collection. So it's very important every time to be close to these use cases, and whatever it's metadata-driven, folders, collections, pay attention to your use cases in order to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I would say that the search engine is by far the more important of these two things, because the folder structure is just one of the mechanisms you use to categorize your assets, and it's not even the primary one. I mean, exactly as Fred said, the metadata is the most important thing, and if the metadata schema is correct, if you have good structure in your metadata and your assets are tagged either manually or probably partially manually, partially automatically, then you'll be able to use a good search engine to find and reuse those assets. And the folder structure is just another small part of that categorization capabilities. You may even find that you don't need to use folders too readily if you have the metadata set up correctly. You may wish to use folders for some things and not for others. It's really kind of down to personal choice and the use cases and how the system's going to be used. Whereas a search engine is an absolute, it's a must. It's one of the most important features of the DAM. And yeah, I would prioritize it above most other things.
Correct.
Okay, we have another question. How can a DAM system help with core web vitals?
Well, I think what you can look at there is around optimization, making sure that the content and assets are performing well, are optimized, are not over bloated. They're actually kind of the right file format for the page, for the browser. I think all of those things are going to become, I mean, I'm not an expert in this, but I've kind of been involved in some of the discussions because it's an area where Cloudinary can really help with this. And it's more on kind of the delivery side of our capabilities, but it's going to become more and more important, and more organizations are realizing that it's not just about the DAM and the control and the storage and the single source of truth. It's about that entire end-to-end life of the asset and what that means to external consumers. And the consumers aren't always human consumers. You know, search engines are consumers of the assets as well, and they're trying to do a job to make sure that they provide the information, the right information, the right indexing for the users of their systems. So it's absolutely vital, and it's something that I know Cloudinary can do a lot to help with, and I'm sure other DAM systems will be trying to kind of catch up with that as well.
Yeah.
Great. Our next question, in addition to common automation or AI for tagging, what other innovative use cases should be considered when buying a dam?
One thing I can say, especially regarding AI, of course, and I think Cloudinary is one maybe at the top regarding this usage to transform your assets. I've got a couple of customers, for example, using plugins, and they can re-get some images effect or just to cut layout here the image. But it's not the only thing, because as for example, I've got a customer. They wanted to use the AI inside the dam in order to get some recognition. But as soon as you have a text on a curve, it's not something really possible today, or it's not so good, things like that. So reason why I will say outside of AI and tagging, most of the time, especially for all retailers in the world, it's all about the taxonomies you can provide in order to drive your assets with the right content. So I will also maybe push one thing is something I was highlighting in my slide. It's all about the performance. So of course it's not a use case as it is, but I see so many dam systems today where many people are uploading inside the dam and nothing is working anymore. So it's very, if you are thinking about the dam enterprise, you have also to think about this performance. And so it's, but I think the 7 use cases we're highlighting, many can cover most of them from retailers, agencies, brands, etc., experience-wise.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, as I mentioned earlier in my slides, the tagging, auto tagging using AI was kind of the first version that most dam systems kind of went for, and it was easy to integrate with existing systems to provide that level of functionality. But from Cloudinary's point of view, we've kind of already pushed on beyond that and around the smart cropping, the smart background removal, so we can have AI to remove the background of maybe a product shot, just to give it kind of a transparent background. I talked about AI moderation, so we already hook into systems that will do kind of nudity checks or unsuitable image checks if you're trying to moderate at scale for UGC. Even things like celebrity detection, so we can detect if there's a celebrity in one of your assets and allow that to be searchable, and finding similar assets. So you may have asset of a particular product or a particular scene, and we can automatically find assets that are in some way similar but don't necessarily share the same metadata. So it's not just running a search, it's actually looking letting the AI determine assets that could be used in a similar way or could meet a similar need. So there's the capabilities and the opportunities for AI in DAM are huge, and it's really just the tip of the iceberg at the moment. And we're trying to look from this whole automation focus that we're putting onto DAM, and how much we can automate with the help of AI to try and bring the efficiency and effectiveness to the processes that people are finding manual at the moment.
Yeah, I think maybe something I can add is something where a couple of DAM vendors are investing, just like you, is really to learn from the usage of the DAM system. So because it's not all about the technology, of course, it's better and better. But it's more than that. You can get some predictive workflows, or some the ability finally, just as we have on the web. Today we have some company. Give you an example. It's not a DAM system; it's Content Square. But these guys are able really to understand the behavior of a customer inside a system. So something maybe we should be able to bring at the top alongside the AI recognitions and tagging.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so
we have another question. Can DAM link to social media platforms, maybe even social selling?
They certainly can. Sometimes it's through kind of third-party integration systems that sit in the middle and kind of specialize in kind of social yes, social publishing, but there's no reason why you can't use the capabilities, the APIs that are available, and have those kind of use cases met by a DAM. As I said on the previous slide, though, depending on exactly what the requirement is and what the use case is, it's often better to have systems that are designed to do a particular job and just integrate the content from the DAM so that the content is in the right place, the functionality to maybe push to social is in the right place, and all of those systems are joined up to give you a seamless experience. But technically speaking, there's no reason why that couldn't be achieved.
Yeah, I do agree. And experience was something I can see today. It's customers are used to work with HotSwitch, Sprinkler, system like this, or something which is very nice is to get this connector, because Sprinkler, HotSwitch are not DAM system. But by the way, this is also a trend that we can see between some automation, work in progress, and the capabilities of a DAM system to streamline, to do some renditions. Of course, it's an easy thing to do for DAM.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question for you, Fred, from Allison. She wants to know, what are some vendors that do the SEO component well?
I will say that's a good question, and this is something we can see more and more, especially with DAM system very close to some CMS, because I see also that we have some CMS questions. And in fact, today, something in order to get the best SEO ever, you have some strategy. It's all about some the URL you are building regarding some tags and etc. But thanks to some of this new, I would say, content picker and asset sharing with some HTTP URLs, you can put some tags with your URL so you can optimize the SEO. And something do not miss also, I'm sorry, I'm always talking about metadata, but since more or less the last 2 years, Google also is trying to optimize also the results or to optimize the SEO with your IPTC inside your pictures. So, of course, to get a top SEO, it's a couple of things to do, some good practices. So DAM system can manage some keywords inside your URL, and think also about your metadata inside your images.
All right, great. Well, that is all the time that we have today. Thanks to Russ and Fred for this engaging presentation. If we didn't get to your question, we'll be sure to pass it along to Cloudinary. On behalf of MarTech today, I want to thank everyone in the audience for attending this webinar. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.